campaign against illegal drugs continues, but it has taken on a new face. It is now geared towards community-based treatment, rehabilitation, education, and reintegration to curb drug dependence amongst our affected citizenry. We will relentlessly continue our fight against drug syndicates, shutting down their illegal activities. We'll shut down their activities and dismantle their network of operations. Unscrupulous law enforcers and others involved in the highly nefarious drug trade have been exposed. I will be accepting their resignations. The pension of the military and the uniformed personnel is as important, as urgent, and as humanitarian as that of all other civilian Filipino employees. Efforts are underway to make it fully functional and financially sustainable. We are once again working closely with Congress to ease the transition from the old system to the new one, so as to be able to guarantee that no effects are felt by those in the uniformed services.
The new phase of the war on drugs, according to President Bongbong Marcos, will mirror a rights-based approach. For drug dependence, it will be much less stringent, but for law enforcers, he said it will be exacting. Let's talk about this recalibrated campaign against illegal drugs tonight on the Chiefs. Welcome to the Chiefs. Ako po si Robbie Alampay. Kasama po natin ngayon aming pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief ng Philippine Star, Ed Lingao of One News, and Good Chief Luis Valdez, Head of News 5. Chief, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ami, one day after Lizona, ano bang fallout or the fallout reactions, response ng mga tao sa...
Fallout, Freudians. Hindi, expected naman yung mga reaction, di ba? Hindi ba? Kung sino yung mga anti, syempre, expected naman yun eh.
Parang yung mga palakpak. Expected yung palakpak eh.
Actually, it is remarkable for its being unremarkable in general. Parang, di ba, lahat...
Sinabi naman niya, di ba? Performance report. It was a performance report. Yan na.
Ang opposition ba nagkaroon na ng ano? Di ba traditionally ang opposition meron silang sariling zone?
Kontrasona.
Sa labas, meron. Sa labas.
Pero a few days ago, meron nang sinabi sila.
Yes, parang
yan, diba?
nag-release.
Sila Risa.
Sila Frank.
Yes, and France, yes.
Yeah.
Meron na. Na ano, yun na nga.
Yeah.
Saka may reaction sila.
Parang wala nung walang major issues na.
Walang fallout.
Wala.
Hindi pa kasi siguro pag na-roll out siyang Maharlika, no? Kasi nag-uumpisa pa lang yan. Isa yan sa mga issue, yung ICC. Yan yung
Na
mga...
hindi naman niya masyado rin dinalakay, di ba?
Yung MUP.
Yung MUP.
Pero yun nga, the devil in the details ang inaantay natin in the next few days. I mean, again, nabanggit mo nga, Maharlika Investment Fund, yung MUP, sinabi niya na ayos yan, walang no effect. At the same time, it will be sustainable. Diba? But yesterday, when you were talking to Secretary Gibo Teodoro, he was acknowledging there's still a balancing act that has to be managed there.
Imposible yung no effects to anyone.
Hindi, sabi nga
meron at meron.
Sa military, pwedeng no effect. Pero sa atin,
Nagkaroon ng fallout.
Even with them diba? Hindi pwedeng
gradual daw, di ba, yung contribution?
Pwedeng no effects.
Most likely gradual
10
for the
to 15
active
years, if I heard
service.
him right. He said 10 to 15 years to face.
Tsaka yung bibigyan sila ng allowance pero magko-contribute
Increase allowance para
for
to
the
offset
new
the contributions.
entrants, diba? So, may
Well,
mga ganon.
Alamin natin ngayon more details dahil sabi nga ni Gibo, I cannot speak for the PNP.
So that's one
Isa pa yun,
aspect, di ba? Yung
uniform.
MUP for the uniformed personnel, the
Yeah.
police in particular, and also the war on drugs. May mga sinabi rin na si President Marcos how it's going to be different. But again, what does it all mean? Kasi marami pang kailangan himayin dyan. We will be sitting, in particular, with DILG Secretary BENHUR Abalos. Don't miss this conversation after this break. Back in a bit.
joining us this evening is Department of Interior and Local Government Secretary BENHUR Abalos. Good evening, sir, and welcome back to the program. We wish you were here with us in the flesh, but we will have to make do with this.
Yun, sir.
Good evening,
Magandang
sir.
gabi po.
Good evening, Roby, Lucy, Ed, Ami, at sa lahat po ng mga nanonood, magandang gabi po.
But sir, reaction mo muna dun sa sona ni Pangulong Bongbong, particularly in regard to all of the plans and accomplishments that have to do with your department. Drugs, kasama yan, LGU, hindi ba, napag-usapan yan, budgets, pati infra, practically everything, di
And
ba?
pension.
Yes. So, anong react nyo dyan?
Well, sa totoo lang, no, one of the broadest department is the DILG. No? For those listening, G stands for governance. We supervise all local government units from governors down to the barangay. And of course, the interior is public safety and peace and order. We supervise and control the PNP, the fire, the jail. And in between, we have got the Commission on Women, Youth, and Muslim Affairs. Tapos meron pa kaming academy, no? The local government academy and the public safety college. No? So it's too broad that in some of those mentioned, mga task force kami, that's how we do our work. No? Nagtutulungan kami, like for example, aside from the peace and order, stunting na sinabi niya about health. The lead agency is the health, but of course, tumutulong ang DSWD and DILG to the barangays. No? Talagang we go grassroots. So ganun ka-broad ang DILG.
Pero yung particular, let's zoom in on the drugs, no? On what he said. Ang kanya po ay, sabi niya, the campaign against illegal drugs has taken on a new phase. It is now geared towards community-based treatment, rehab, education, and reintegration to curb drug dependence. Ang dating po sa marami nito ay this is a marked departure from the previous administration's thrust, no? And it falls upon you, of course, to now implement it with the same, sabihin na rin natin, no? Felt effect, yung nararamdaman po ng citizenry on the ground na nabawasan ang drug-related crimes. Although in the previous administration, of course, it was at the cost of human lives, no? Unfortunately. But how do you make sure that people on the ground, especially in areas where there are so many drug layers, no? How do you intend to make this program effective and felt?
Well, for one, we've got the demand reduction. Ito po yung ginagawa ng Philippine National Police, ng NBI, PDEA. Ito yung nanghuli. And I would like to tell everyone here, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ito. No? In fact, hindi lang tuloy-tuloy ito. Later, I'll show you data kung kano kalalaking huli namin dito. And most importantly, to show how serious we are on this, no, ang ating presidente, yung acceptance niya of the resignation. On the other hand, aside from this supply reduction, yung sinasabi ng Presidente taking on a new phase, equally, we also give emphasis on the demand reduction. No? Napaka-importante po nito. So it's both supply and demand reduction. So dito po naman sa supply reduction, the drug problem is just like a tree. Yung sanga, yung branches, even if you cut it, tutubo lang eh. So what is important, habang pinuputol mo yung sanga, yung branches, you also cut off the roots. So that's what we're doing right now. While the PDEA, the police are doing their arrests, those problems on the ground, ina-address namin. I'll give you data. 70% of all that are incarcerated right now are all drug-related. 70%. And 30% are repeat offenders, meaning 1 out of 3 who have served their sentence, babalik po yan. So what are some of the problems here? Of course, you have to tap on national agencies. Like for example, about several months ago, napatawag ako na meeting. DSWD have their own drug rehabilitation program. DOH has their own, the LGUs have their own. So pinag-isa-isa na lang namin ito para matugunan ng lahat. No? Aside from this, you've got livelihood programs, you've got You've got the DOLE to help us out, no? So you even go down to the barangay. You've got the Barangay Anti-Drug Abuse Council, you've got the ADAC, no? You've got the community, you've got the church, you've got the school, etc. All of these things you tap together. That's why we came out with the BIDA program, Buhay Ingatan, Droga'y Ayawan. So again, while the police, PDEA are doing their thing, arresting people, no, arresting those who are guilty, dito sa supply reduction, we're also tapping dito naman sa demand reduction. Yun ang sinasabi ng ating Pangulo dito.
Secretary, I think, mamaya marami tayong tanong on all of those aspects and alam namin this is not an easy thing. But dun sa demand reduction, in particular, this community-based efforts, especially extending all the way to rehab. When you say new phase, may medyo chicken and egg yan eh. Kasi on the one hand, you want a kinder phase, something that people can get reassured by, that they can come to this for help. But at the same time, you're actually starting from a phase na hindi maganda yung phase ng drug program eh, coming from the Duterte administration. We've spoken to a lot of people. I have a podcast with Gideon Lasco specifically looking at the war on drugs. And yung isang insight ng mga community workers is that a lot of people are afraid to even go because their experience during the Duterte administration was takot sila. This might be a trap. Baka masama ako sa matrix. And they actually deny themselves access even to community-based programs. Are you seeing this particular concern? And if so, how do you address it? Given chicken and egg yan eh, yung presenting this new face.
Well, actually, Robbie, this one thing we could assure you that we're waging this war on drugs on the basis of our oath as public officials in accordance with the Constitution. So that's the premise na talaga napaka-importante. That is why if you're going to look at this arrest done, nakita niyo naman, we hold 6.7 billion last October in Manila. It's close to 1 ton of drugs. It's one of the biggest drug haul in the history of our country. Sunod-sunod yan, by the billions ang huli. Bago matapos ng taon, just 6 months, it's close to 10 billion. In about a year, probably, it has reached 20 billion ang huli. So these are the big fish. And not only that, Robbie, what is important here is that yung statement namin about this pleading, I mean, nakiusap ako dati, they will, resign, kasi nga, ito yung sinabi ni Chief Asurin nung araw, sabi ko, Chief, bakit dadalawa ang testigo? Bakit walang tumitestigo? Bakit dadalawa lang? I cannot just get it. Why is it that we've got the biggest drug haul? We can get into the mastermind. And he told me, you know what, Sec? You can't blame them because people are just so afraid of these syndicates. They're very powerful and they will hurt you where it will hurt you most. Your children, your family. So sabi ko sa kanya, anong gagawin natin? So ang sabi ni Chief, at that time, Chief Asurin, he was then the previous Chief PNP, sabi niya, let us request for the generals and colonels to resign. Request, the word is request. Nilala ko to sa Presidente and the President agreed. Sabi niya, okay, let's request them to resign. So I made the request sometime January. And just the other day, yesterday, during the SONA, the President accepted 18 pa additional of this. It simply means that we are serious here, Robbie. We are serious here in cleaning up the ranks. So sa ating mga kababayan, huwag po kayong matakot. Alam mo kung mahirap ito. I mean, this is a global problem right now. So we will continue with these legal arrests na ginagawa namin. But at the same time, this demand, and ito na, this is what I want to point out, Ami, Ed, Luchi, and Robbie at sa nanonood. They've got an experiment about methamphetamine in the US. The rats were given a choice. Do you want methamphetamine or do you want water? And you know what? All of these rats chose the methamphetamine. Naging addict yung mga daga. Ito yung sinabi ni Gilbert Cruz. It was an actual experiment. And after they tweaked the experiment. No? They made the rats run mazes, etc. After several days, pagod yung mga daga. They now ask them, tubig or methamphetamine? Alam mo, lahat ng daga pinili tubig. They avoided the methamphetamine. No? So sa kontekstong ito, it's fighting the war on drugs not only on the supply side, but going to the attitude. We have to protect our children, the most vulnerable, 50 to 25. No? And it's the whole of the nation approach that we're doing it right now.
Yeah, Secretary, like I said, we do want to get into the supply side. We appreciate this what you're sharing already. But just to be clear, and I apologize if I wasn't clear with my question earlier, it's on the demand side. Doon sa community-based programs na sinabi ni President Marcos, you will also be promoting. I imagine you reaching out to the communities, to the barangays reaching out to drug users, and to the community in general, and saying, halika, pag-usapan natin ang droga, tulungan ka namin, and so on. But yung pong isang problema na sinasangguni ng iba, sa ngayon, takot yung mga tao even sa barangay level programs. Doon po yung tanong ko lang, if I wasn't clear later, how do you convince people, especially emerging from the violence and the trauma of the war on drugs as waged by the Duterte administration, how do you give this new face and make it more enticing and more reassuring for people na hindi ito yung katulad nung dating inaasa na pagka sinabi namin pumunta kayo dito, this is safe, you can come here, ang pakay namin ay tumulong.
Well, the only way to be doing those is to be transparent and to be proactive. By being proactive, we invite everyone. All sectors should be involved, and that's what we're doing right now. We've got this program, it's called Buhay Ingatan, Droga Iwan. We've been to almost all of the regions of the Philippines. No? Every week yan, Robbie, tumatakbo ko. We've got this fun run, 7 kilometers. We run with them, and then tinitingnan namin ang mga program doon sa ilalim. No? And we assure people, no, talagang we are going to do this in accordance with the law and the Constitution. No? And of course, what is important is kung kasama sila sa plano, kung kasama sila sa participation sa pagbalangkas sa mga programa, hindi na sila matatakot because they are part of this. And that's what we would like to do. No? Talagang whole of the nation approach, including the communities.
Secretary, hindi lang naman yung civilians ang sinasabing natatakot na mag-testify eh. Pati si Solicitor General Menardo Guevara and even the Justice Secretary. Sabi nila si Soljan ang sabi niya, yung investigation ng 6,000 plus na drug killings, hirap na hirap silang kumuha ng witnesses. And not just civilian witnesses. Si Justice Secretary Remulla, nanawagan na siya in public, sabi niya sa mga pulis, come out and tell us your story dahil nababalitaan daw niya merong mga gusto sana nga magsalita about yung mga abuses in the previous drug war. Pero hanggang ngayon, as far as we know, wala pa rin nangyayari. How can you reassure these people? Pati yung police mismo, natatakot na lumabas at magsalita.
Well, sa totoo lang, Ami, if we're going to recall last January, kaya nga nung Pasko ko, medyo nahirapan ako dahil alam ko I'm going to make that pronouncement requesting for the resignation of generals and colonels. Precisely yan ang sinasabi ni Chief Asurin at that time. So ako'y mismo nagulat. No? Sabi ko, coming from the Chief of Police at that time, to be requesting for the resignation of all generals and colonels. It is a statement na parang gano'n na ba kalala ang problema nito? Well, true enough, no? I mean, gano'n na nangyari rito up to that level. Pero I would like to assure our public right now, no? 99.9% of our police, no? Mga bayani po rin, they are heroes. It is these few scalawags at ang problema po rito is they're in a very sensitive position. Yun ang nakakatakot. Sensitive position na pwede magmando. Kaya nga, kung makikita po ninyo, yan po ang una nating nag-request for them to resign. No? And the rest is history. Just yesterday, 18 were accepted. The statement is very clear. Huwag kayong matakot. The president is there. As our president, andyan siya, tinanggap niya. The DILG is there. The NAPOLCOM is there. I know may bantang ganyan, pero from now on, huwag kayong matakot. We will assist you.
Sir, linawin ko lang yung 18 kasi hindi naman yata nabanggit yun sa SONA, di ba? May binanggit bang 18? Wala siya sinabing number, sinabi lang, I am accepting the resignation. Pwede bang pangalanan nyo kahit mga siguro top 3 lang na tinanggap na yung
Actually, this
resignation?
came out, no? The letter came out just this morning.
Yes.
This is from just one moment. The complete letter, please. The letter came out from the PCO from Malacanang. If I might be allowed to just read it right now.
Yes.
Hanapin ko lang sandali.
Opo.
Okay. This letter was prepared. Okay. Just one moment. Okay. But here, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. announced on Tuesday that he has accepted 18 third-level officers of the PNP. No? The President announced in his second State of the Nation address held at the Batasan Mamasa that he will be accepting the resignation of unscrupulous law enforcers and others involved in the highly nefarious drug trade. In a letter to the President, PNP Chief Benjamin Accorda Jr. informed the former that the ad hoc advisory group conducted a thorough investigation into the alleged involvement of those police officers. Said officers have tendered resignation pending the investigation. Of the 953, ito po yung kabuuan ng generals and colonels, the group recommended the non-acceptance of 935 courtesy resignations and the acceptance of 18 officers. No? So, nakalagay na po ang mga pangalan nila rito. Nakikita ko ay 3 general and the rest are colonels. No? It's here, and I'm sure tomorrow it will be out, it will be published. No? So this was released by Malacanang. According to the PNP chief, the above officials are continuously being monitored. He also said that the necessary orders for the relief from the present positions will be immediately issued, and the officers will be assigned to the personal holding accounting unit, no, and records management to preclude them from exerting further influence or performing illegal activities using their positions. At the start of the administration, the President Marcos vowed to clean up the ranks of the PNP, saying that the drug problem will not exist without the involvement of police officials. No? So ito, medyo mahaba pa, pero this will show talagang yung seriousness of this administration.
But sir, can you tell us ano yung mga posisyon nitong 3 general? These are flag officers eh. I mean, these are serious positions. What positions did they have before they resigned?
Isang brigadier, 3 brigadier general
Sila yung
ang
drug enforcement
tinanggap. 3 brigadier general and the rest are colonels, full colonels. So isa pa rito, actually kinaklaro ko lang we're just waiting for the letter of the president, no? Coming from the letter of accepted official, ibababa po ito sa Philippine National Police, and then immediately once accepted, wala na, they will be severed from the service.
But of course, charges will be filed, I suppose. If you had findings to begin with, that would follow.
Well, let me. We're talking first of the resignation, no?
Yes,
Since
sir.
these are courtesy
Yes, sir.
resignations that they've done, this is on the basis of the resignation that they filed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But sir,
pero-
there was an investigation, sir, di ba? And I would think na after accepting resignation, that would be for cause.
Apa.
And I suppose that would what would follow would be sanctions.
Filing of charges.
Kasi po, binitawan lang iba yun eh.
Actually, Ed, I have yet to look at this, no? So titignan na muna namin to. Baka yung basis dito is only on the basis of accepting the courtesy resignation.
but-
Titignan po natin.
But sir,
it's enough to file criminal cases.
Malinaw
But
yung
in
context.
Hisona, PBBM said, again I'm quoting, unscrupulous law enforcers and others involved in the highly nefarious drug trade have been exposed. So this is as direct can be, no?
Not only
In other
that,
words, there's
not only that,
real involvement.
not only that, Secretary, if we go back to the original call for everybody to hand in their courtesy resignations, it was clear to the entire country that the context for this was precisely to identify and investigate those suspected to be involved in the illegal drugs.
Yes. Yes, that's the context. For now, we have accepted it and we're studying these charges.
Okay. Now, on the other side of this, and again, this goes back to the initial questions and conversations spurred by that call for resignations. Yung tanong din po is, yung mga hindi tinanggap ang resignation, are we supposed to assume na malinis lahat yan?
Well, one thing I could assure the public is that ito'y sa level pa lang ng general and colonels, wala pa yung sa baba. No? Ito'y tuloy-tuloy ang monitoring po namin dito. No? Importante ito. Because they are supposed to protect us, etc. So dapat lamang mabantayan din. No? So ito po yung state of our drug war right now. That's why yung previous tanong mo kanina, Roby, ito ba magtitiwala na ba ang mga tao, hindi na ba matatakot? Wag na ho kayong matakot, makikita nyo naman seryoso ang ating Pangulo. In fact, these steps are being undertaken. Kakaiba po ito eh. Kakaiba ito. These are resignations, acceptance, and these are high-ranking officials at tataas po ng posisyon po nito. No? Huwag kayong mag-alala at tuloy-tuloy po gagawin po namin ang aming trabaho.
Pero sir, I of course we suppose that you understand the concern of a lot of people about what's been happening the past few months. So we have 18 resignations accepted from a unit that has had for example, recycling of drugs, napakatalamak po. Lumabas sa mga hearings, it's practically SOP. The head of the PIDEA was even offered at a certain point this kind of a program. So if it gets that deep, baka po yung 18 the number 18 will be magnificently small.
Roby, baka malito ang tao, no? Yung sa video na nakita natin, the one who exposed that was me. No, I first exposed it in sinabi ko nga, it's res ipsa loquitur. The thing will speak for itself. There are so many things that must be answered by that video. And then doon na nag-anong Senado. But I would want to make this of record that the NAPOLCOM, no, because the NAPOLCOM, the National Police Commission, has supervision and control over the police, of which I am the chairman. We've already filed cases against 50 officers involved in that video. This is on record, including the one of that you're talking about, the head of the drug enforcement. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Those are 50 personnel.
Okay. Sir, hindi pa po tayo tapos. And we will continue this conversation right after this breather. The chiefs will be right back.
With us, DILG Chief BENHUR Abalos. Secretary, gusto naming mag-cover ng iba pang mga topic, napakarami pa naming katanungan. Sabi rin ni President Marcos sa SONA niya kahapon, he also tackled, of course, the pension system ng military and other uniformed personnel. At sabi niya, gusto niya in the transition, gusto niya no effect on the MUP in the active service. Ngayon, tinanong nila kagabi, si Secretary Gibo Teodoro, sabi ni Secretary, sa military daw, mukhang gagawing gradual for the active service personnel at yung mandatory pension contribution, impose na lang sa mga new entrants at saka iniisip daw nila, magbenta na lang ng mga assets ng AFP to finance yung magse-set up ng pondo para nga dun sa pension. Ngayon, he cannot speak, of course, for the military, for the police, and yung fire protection, which saka yung jail personnel, which are under the DILG. Sa inyo po namang departamento, ano po yung ibig sabihin ng no effect on those in the active service and yung transition na gusto ni President Marcos?
Well, sa amin po ay tuloy pa rin po ang dialogo namin, no, for people on the ground. Medyo madami po kasi ang police, about 228,000. Napakalawak po nito. May jail ka pa, meron ka pang fire, no, napakalawak. So, yung po ang lumalabas sa sentimento, baka po pwede nilang mga bagong pasok na lamang, no. Tama po si Secretary Gibo about some of the things that he did niya. May mga panukalang ganon, no? But right now, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ho ang aming konsultasyon on the ground with the different regional directors, with the different PDs po sa buong Pilipinas.
Yung last report, sabi ng spokesperson ng PNP, more than 1,700 na daw na PNP members ang nag-optional retirement as a result of concerns about their pensions being affected. Kumusta naman yung ginagawa nyo dito sa problema na to na mukhang lalaki pa yata?
Well, ang isang issue kasi dito, Ami, is this, under the current practice, kung magre-retire ka, let's say, magre-retire ka ngayon, one rank higher ka kagad, automatic. Automatic yun. No? For example, colonel ka, pag-retire mo, general ka, parang ganun lumalabas. So, that's a practice. No? So, dun kaya maraming nag-retire, takot sila yun eh. Kasi maski compete mo, it will take how many years bago ka ma-promote, baka mawala yun. Kaya iniisip siguro nila yun. No? Kaya, wag silang mag-alala dahil ito'y pinag-uusapan pa, sinasaguli pa namin sila at they were coming up with a plan about this. No? So it's one of the issues bakit gusto nila magkaroon ng early retirement.
Pero kayo po ba, sir, are you actively involved also in the formulation of plans, no, that will actually be geared toward minimizing the, sabihin na natin, no, the cuts on benefits of the police force?
Ang mabigat kasi rito, Luchi, is that, alam mo, minana lahat ng Pangulong Marcos ito eh. This has been napakatagal na problema na ito eh. Kung hindi mo naman tatalakayin ito, no, baka bumaksak ang buong sistema, sinasabi nga ni Secretary Benjo, no. So kaya yun ang approach ng ating Pangulo, no, to have a softer impact here. That's why right now what we're trying to do is come up with consultations at meron na kami more or less the Chief Acorda na mga plano dito, na mga options, kamukha na ginagawa ni Sec. Gibo Chidoro.
But how are the police generals and the police officers accepting this or receiving this? Dahil sa military, medyo talagang ramdam, no? Yung, sabihin na natin, yung kanilang disappointment, to use a more tame word, no? On the prospects of their pension funds being reduced, no? Ganun din po ba? Is it a strong sentiment on the part of the police officers?
Well, pagdating kasi sa anything about yung benefits o yung ano mabawasan, that's a natural reaction, di ba? That's very natural. So dapat lang mapilawanagan at tama ang presidente, dapat yung impact hindi ganun kalaki, no? Kaya nga gumagawa tayo ng mga different options dito. So yung tono niya, yung order niya sinabi kahapon sa SONA, no, more or less nakadoon na eh. Tsaka yung sinasabi ni Secretary Gibo, yung mga new entrants, baka doon na lang. Pero still, no, tuloy-tuloy pa rin na aming mga dialogo rito.
Pero sir, can you speak of the numbers you're looking at? Whether percentages in contributions and who they apply to? Kasi in the end nga, we're looking at what the President said yesterday, na no effect on the MUP personnel. We're wondering how that could be possible kasi the money has to come from somewhere. So it either comes from them or it comes from us.
Well, kamukha na sinasabi ni Sec. Bibo, no? We're looking at, siguro isang option dito ay tignan mo yung new entrance na lang dito, you just stop the bleeding. Kasi kung tumagal na ilang taon to, na ilang panahon na pinabayaan ito, no? At the very least, you stop the bleeding, sa new entrance mo ilagay. Tapos for the meantime, hanapan mo na solusyon kung paano ito, no? Through some assets probably with the PNP. But these are just some options, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wag kayo malala, we're just doing our job here, we're going on the ground, and we're going to come up with options soon. Pero makikita mo na lang doon sa sinabi ng Pangulo kahapon na talagang more or less yun na ang trend dito.
Yes, sir. Kasi sir, if you only look at getting contributions from new entrants, you're looking at how many thousand personnel lang every year. So medyo maliit-liit yun compared to the 228,000 people now currently in service.
Well, the important thing here is to really paano to stop the bleeding. Hindi kailangan tumuloy kasi tumuloy-tuloy ilang
Yes,
taon
sir.
ito
That is
talaga
true.
sa totoo lang eh, no? So at least you start from somewhere. Pero let us see. We'll probably the next several weeks, no, we'll give you some I'm not at liberty right now, no, na i-divulge kung ano yung napag-uusapan namin on the ground. Pero yung sinasabi ng presidente, halos yun eh.
Sir, let's talk about governance kasi President Marcos also said that the fight against corruption will continue, no? And he's as committed to it as ever. So let me just ask you, in regard pa rin to this MUP, alam nyo si Baguio Mayor Benjamin Magalong recently expressed his sentiments, his sama ng loob, over the fact that while they have agreed somehow for their pensions to be probably reduced, that's their contribution. They're waiting for the legislature to do its part. What's your thought on that? And do you think that this is something that's shared by people like you in the cabinet? What contributions are you making in regard to making things more transparent in government and reducing corruption so that there won't have to be this kind of fiscal challenges that will require people like them or other people in government to sacrifice their own benefits when actually a lot of money is lost to corruption if only government really truly does its part in checking it.
Well, Lucy, no, like the war on drugs, what we're trying to show people is to have faith. Tama yung sinasabi ni Roby kanina, yung sinasabi ninyong parang takot na magsumbong, etc. because of this fear. So what we're trying to do here is, there is this institutions of government. Maniwala kayo. You mag-report kayo sa police, mag-report kayo sa amin. We'll take care of you. Don't you worry about what will happen to you. In the same token, it goes without saying, it should be for everyone, including this corruption. We've got the proper agencies of government, you've got ombudsman, you've got the Sandigan Bayan here, no? And what is more important here is social media. No? Alam mo, ibang mundo ngayon eh. Konting, maano ka talagang mare-report ka agad eh. No? Napakarami. So that's one thing going for us. What is important is for us really to have faith in these pillars of justice. No? Napaka-importante ito. If you're going to ask me that. Pero eto lang, just one more thing, no? Which goes me to another topic of the president. At maraming sumasabi dito, itong procurement law. No? If you will look at yesterday, medyo pinalakpakan ito.
Yes. Na
dapat we should revisit the procurement law kasi kuminsan, hindi porke pinakamura, yun ang pinaka-okay eh. Di ba? Kuminsan nagsasuffer quality-wise. No? At dyan ang maraming sumasabi. Pangalawa, I've been going about the local government units. And the 6th, 5th, and 4th class municipality, yung sabihin na natin hirap, no? Dahil wala silang resources. Wala silang legal officers, Luchi. So imagine if you're a new officer, you're a new mayor, bago ka lang, you don't even know about the procurement law. Wala kang abogado to guide you. I'm sure madidimanda at madidimanda yan. Kasi kung minsan, not because you are in good faith, you could do so many things. Magbibigay ka lang, let's say, ng poso. Nagbigay ka ng poso just to help people. Hindi mo alam, private property pala yun. Naku po, sabit ka na dyan. No? Ignorance cannot save anyone here. So these are just some of the things on the ground. No? Na, kaya nga ako, iniisip ko, why not tulungan ng probinsya sa legal or they could do clustering, etc. No? These are just some things on the ground that I've been observing.
That's true. Well, actually, si Mayor Magalong also spoke about the SOP, no? Na ngayon daw ay umaabot na sa as much as 40%. I don't know how true that is, but that's how much money he thinks is lost to corruption, no? And as regards this SONA, a call of President Marcos on amending the procurement law, Do you have any suggestions in that regard, no? Since it's the LGUs, and especially the LGUs at the lowest level, who you say need to be trained legally on the ins and outs of this law. What do you think should be amended in concrete terms? In
Well,
regard
number
to the
one, no,
procurement
sa
law?
procurement, maski yung mga dating Pangulo, they're complaining about this. No? Isipin mo, kukuha ka ng isang bagay, wala pa ilang panahon, sira na kaagad ito. No? Like for example, vehicles. Alam naman natin kung sino mga vehicles talagang maayos, biglang pinakamura, hindi mo alam, ngayon mo lang narinig yung brand na to, ngayon mo lang narinig, wala pang ilang taon, sira ka agad ito, no? So these are the things that must be considered, no, as some of the inputs na dapat ilagay dito. And not only that, talking about these amendments, we're even thinking to the leagues, to the League of Governors, Vice Mayors, the Barangay Captain, you know, the local government code should itself be amended. No, I'll just give you one thing. So bagay, lumayo na tayo sa corruption. Just one example. No, etong Mandanas. Don't you realize that under the local government code of 1991, nakalagay that all barangay roads shall be constructed by the barangay. So possibly kung Makati pwede, Quezon City pwede, but what if you're 4th, 5th, or 6th class or middle? Hindi nila kayang pagawa sa sariling kalye nila. No, marami dito, like for example, all provinces must construct their own tertiary hospitals. And these are tertiary hospitals. Hirap din silang magano. So on this context, not only the procurement law, but again, the local government code should also be revisited. No, and we're working on this. DILG is already working with this, together with the different leagues and with the local government academy.
Well, sir, it does make sense naman to ask kung bakit, I mean, why buy from the lowest bidder if the lowest bidder probably has the worst or most inferior product? But sir, at the same time, the idea behind public bidding is that you get from the lowest bidder that meets a certain standard, a term of reference.
May qualification.
Oh, may qualification, sir. In the same way that in the US military, napakamahal na mga martilyo nila at mga tornilyo nila because they're supposed to last for so many cycles in an aircraft carrier, for example. So, cheap does not necessarily mean, or inexpensive does not necessarily mean cheap. It just means it's supposed to be more cost efficient. So meron pong ganong trade-off eh. I'm wondering lang kasi if what you're looking at here is some sort of a revision or amendment that results in loosening the restrictions or the regulations or the safeguards on how we make purchases for the government, because we do already have a significant corruption problem.
Well, I don't think so, Ed. I think the essence here is what is your observation. We must get the best quality at the cheapest price. That should be the goal here. And how to go about this? What are the particular conditions? What are the particular limitations, etc., etc. Dapat talaga mas set forth na ito. Malinaw po ito. Again, I share your observation. It should be like that. We should get the best quality at the cheapest price.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I think we agree on that, sir. That's supposed to be talaga the idea behind
Yes.
public bidding. Eh. You meet the standards, and the standards are supposed to be good, and then you get
can bid.
You get the bid.
Yeah.
That's the lowest. So yun lang po.
But it's not always happening that way on the ground, unfortunately.
why,
So we must look at these instances. Why is that happening that way? No?
Actually, sir, I was really intrigued dun sa kinuwento nyo. Not that it's hard to relate. We can imagine it. Gaya nga na sabi nyo, okay, yung barangay have to construct their own roads. Pero wala silang pondo, walang capacity, walang legal advice. And for that matter, maybe even if they offer the bid, going by that, na sa pre-qualification, kailangan certain standard, baka walang papasa doon sa local suppliers. So I'm just wondering, paint us a picture. How does it work in that scenario? Imagine any particular barangay that really stands out in your mind. How did they manage it?
Well, actually, Roby, it's like this, you know. The local government code, of which, you know, the late Senator Nene Pimentel, he's the father of this. And he espouses autonomy of the barangay, the municipality, the city, and the provinces. No? Maganda, autonomous eh. And they set there anong mga responsibility of every LGUs, no? Responsibility. Yung sinasabi ko kanina, one of the responsibilities of all barangays in the Philippines is that they should be the one to construct their own roads from their barangay funds.
Right.
Naku, napaka-imposible noon.
Kaya nga po.
Kaya nga po,
Kaya nga po.
paano nga yun?
Okay, number 2, communal irrigation. No? Bahala na rin ang LGU yan. Number 3, construction of all schools. Nasa cities and municipalities and provinces. Construction of all schools and maintenance of the schools. I don't think 6th, 5th, and 4th class municipality can be doing those. Hindi nila kaya ito. No?
Kaya nga, sir,
marami
on the
kang-
basis of that, yeah.
So-
Ano pong amendment, even in the LGU code, are you seeing? What kind of
Okay, so-
amendments do you think should be made in order to
Yeah.
address that concern?
Hindi, babawasan
Sa
niyo
ngayon-
po ba yung yung autonomy? You think kailangan bawasan yung autonomy? Kasi actually, yung mga sinasabi niyo yan na function ng barangay, it's one of the causes, reklamo yan ng mga karamihan sa mga investor na dahil sa ganyan, the barangays are authorized to raise their own funds, no? Kaya kung ano-ano hinihingi nilang fees at nagkakaroon ng red tape, katakot-takot na red tape, katakot-takot na redundant fees, at hindi na malaman ng mga negosyante, magtatayo lang ng tore ng telco, katakot-takot na permit ang hinihingi. That's one of their biggest complaints. So, tatanungin lang namin, do you think kailangan medyo bawasan yung autonomy? Ganun ba yung iniisip niyo mga reform na
Okay.
Isn't that the heart of the LGU
Yes,
code?
Ami, tama ka sa observation mo. But yung mulang mga telco, no, sabihin ko lang sa iyo, may bagong batas na ngayon na wala ng barangay permit for the telcos. Kasi isa sa mga, tama ka, isa sa nagpapabagal yan So, wala na yan, diretso na kaagad para mas mabilis ang wifi natin dito sa Pilipinas. No? Now going back here, ngayon pinag-aaralan namin, ano yung dapat ibalik sa national at ano yung dapat ibigay pa rin sa autonomy. No? Kasi talagang may mga ibang practical talagang hindi nila kaya. Like, for example, in agriculture, no? Dapat siguro sa agriculture, sa mga yung specialist, dito pa rin sa taas ito, no? For example, sa Department of Health, no? May mga lugar na kinakailangan Department of Health dan. Iniisa-isa namin yan. But for the meantime, what do we do? Until we amend the local government code between now, ang ginawa ng ating Pangulo is this. Are you familiar with the Mandanas case?
Yes.
Yes.
Ruling.
Okay. So, etong Mandanas case ngayon, si Governor Mandanas filed a case, sabi niya, teka muna, kasi there are 3 sources of funds, real property tax, business tax, and the third is the national tax allocation or IRA,
Yes.
Internal Revenue Allotment. Ano ito? Ito yung we share in all the national taxes. It's
Right.
being prorated, no? So, sabi ni Governor Mandanas noon, tsaka ni Governor Ted Garcia, bakit hindi nyo sinama yung customs? Dapat kasama ito at yung iba pa. So, nanalo ang LGU. Tuwang-tuwa sila. Sabi nila, wow, panalo na kami. Pero at the same time, nagbaba ang DBM. This was before. Sabi nila, okay, you get your money, but from now on, you will be on your own.
Yes.
Kung ano sinasabi ng local government code, gawin yung lahat. So
Yes.
ngayon, pumasok ngayon ang BBM administration, ito yung bumulaga sa amin. So what do you do? Hindi nila kaya, kamukha na sinasabi ko kanina. Ang sabi ng ating Pangulo ay simple lang. Yung hindi kaya, aalalayan natin. Isuspindi muna natin. Tuloy muna natin ito. And they will get their money. Kung anong money meron sila, they will get it. So, yun ang status namin ngayon. So, but habang ginagawa namin ito, nalagyan ng timetable hanggat ma-amend natin itong local government code. No? So, sa ngayon, ganyan, talaga tumutulong ang ating Pangulo, ang ating national government to the local, pero mahirap naman habang buhay ganun dahil ang laking pera ang nawala rin. No? But again, hindi naman kakayanin ng mga LGU. So, right now, through the academe, to the local government, and with the leagues, nag-uusap kami, hinihimay namin isa-isa ang function, ano yung dapat bumalik sa national, ano yung dapat i-retain dito as their autonomy. No? So, inaayos po namin lahat.
So,
So, in the
babawasan
meantime-
nga talaga siya.
Oh,
Babawasan yung devolution.
Yeah.
Or to be more precise, as you said, suspended muna. And balik muna tayo status quo ante because that was precisely how LGUs were framing it. Kung dinagdagan mo ako ng pondo, pero dinagdagan mo ako ng trabaho, hindi mo ako dinagdagan ng pondo. So in other words, ipaghiwalay muna natin yung dalawang yan. Ibigay muna natin yung pondo sang-ayon sa Mandanas ruling, tas tsaka natin pag-usapan kung what can be devolved and not devolved.
Yes, you're right, Robbie. Yun ang sitwasyon ngayon. I mean, our president has been a governor, a legislator, kaya na sinabi niya. Alam niya, he has the heart for the LGU, sabi niya. Ganon, eksakto.
Sinabi rin ni Presidente, there's no room daw for corruption and incompetence in government. Yun na nga ang nabanggit ko na kanina, isa sa pinakamalaking reklamo, especially ng mga businessmen, is local governments actually, when it comes to corruption and inefficiency, hindi naman daw incompetence. So ano pa yung mga binabalak ninyo to remedy the situation?
Well, if ever our office is always open for any complaints, no? We've got the ombudsman, we've got the Sandigan Bayan, ang opisina po namin for any administrative complaint, no? Kung meron kayo reklamo about this, feel free, no? At action na po namin yan dito po sa DILG.
Okay.
Right?
DILG Secretary BENHUR Abalos. Sir, maraming salamat po.
Salamat,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Secretary.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
And that is all we have for the chiefs. We hope it was discussed. We'll keep the conversation going. Ako po si Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Ed Linga. We are One News, all sides, all the time.